Today, we're going to talk about our brain's internal risk manager, that powerful ancient system that's always asking, what if? We're diving deep into the science behind worry, security, and why sometimes you just can't shake that nagging feeling. So let's just start with the feeling we all know, right? Have you ever been lying in bed, just about to drift off, and suddenly you're wondering, did I lock the front door? Or maybe you've obsessed over some strange noise that turned out to be, absolutely nothing. That feeling, it isn't just paranoia. It's a very specific, highly evolved system in your brain firing up. And this is the absolute key distinction to make. That feeling is not the same as pure fear. As you can see right here, your fear system is for obvious, immediate threats, like a tiger walking into the room. It's instant and it triggers that fight or flight response. But the security system, that's totally different. It deals with potential, uncertain dangers, the possibility you left the stove on. It doesn't cause outright panic, but it does create a nagging anxiety, awareness, and this really powerful urge to just go and check. So, let's actually put a name to this what-if engine. Researchers have a specific term for it, and once you understand what it is, it unlocks a huge part of how we make decisions every single day. It's called the Security Motivation System, or SMS for short. And its entire job, its whole purpose, is to manage those low probability but super high consequence threats. It's not worried about what is happening right now, but what could happen. You can think of it as the part of your brain that's always playing defense against the future. And it operates in this really logical three-step process. First, it detects. It scans for subtle cues, a faint smell of smoke, a car door that looks unlocked. Then it motivates you to probe, to get more information, to actually go check the stove, to walk back and jiggle the car door handle. And finally, it pushes you to act, to turn off the stove, to lock that door. See, the action itself is what finally satisfies the system. So how does the system actually work inside our heads? Let's go a little deeper and look at the brain's wiring for all this. It's a pretty complex loop, but we can simplify it. Let's just call it our dedicated worry circuit. Now, the technical name is a real mouthful. I'm going to try it. Cortico-striato-pallidothalamo-cortical loops. Yeah, but don't worry about that. All it really means is that there's a series of interconnected brain regions that fire off in a cascade, creating that motivation to check and secure things. It's basically a loop that just keeps on running until it gets a clear, all-clear signal. We can break this whole circuit down into three main players. First, you've got the alarm. That's the limbic system, which flags a potential threat. Next, the basal ganglia creates the action plan. That's the urge, that feeling that makes you want to get up and check the lock. And finally, and this part is so crucial, the brainstem acts as the off switch. It sends the signal to shut the loop down once the action is complete. But this circuit isn't just a mental thing. When the security system activates, it puts your entire body into this unique state of high alert. And this is so important to get. This is not the same as that full-blown adrenaline-pumping panic of fight or flight. Not at all. It's a much more subtle state of vigilance and alertness. Your body's basically preparing for potential action, not immediate life or death action. And this is all explained by this fascinating idea called the polyvagal theory. The researcher Stephen Porges suggests that our nervous system has this really sophisticated middle gear. It can ramp up our alertness for potential threats without having to slam the gas on our entire stress response system. The way it does this is such a great metaphor. Our body removes the vagal brake. So the vagus nerve normally acts like a brake on our heart rate, keeping it nice and slow and steady. To get ready for a potential threat, the brain doesn't hit the gas pedal. It just gently lifts its foot off the brake. This chart shows you exactly what's going on. In a safe, calm state, that vagal brake is on full, and our heart rate is low. But when the security system spots a potential threat, that brake is partially released. Our heart rate just increases enough to make us alert and ready without tipping us over into a full-on stress response. It's pretty smart. But you can imagine this is a really finely tuned system. So what happens when it malfunctions? What if that crucial off switch we talked about, what if it stops working correctly? Well, this gives us a whole new way of understanding conditions like obsessive-compulsive disorder or OCD. It turns out OCD isn't really a problem of the system starting too easily. It's actually a problem of the system failing to stop. The worry circuit just gets stuck in this infinite loop. And the reason it can't stop comes down to the failure of this fascinating internal signal. Researchers call it eidosentience. Now, it's a word you've probably never heard before, but it describes a feeling you know really, really well. It's that internal sense of, okay, that's enough. That feeling of satisfaction that tells you the lock is secure, the stove is definitely off, and you can finally relax. In OCD, that feeling of enoughness just never arrives. A person can check the lock 10 times, 100 times, but because that yet a sentient signal fails to fire, the security system never gets the message that the job is done. The worry circuit just keeps running, demanding more checking, more action, in this frustrating, absolutely endless loop. Okay, but this system doesn't just manage physical threats like an unlocked door. It also has a huge influence on our everyday emotions and our decisions. Let's explore that connection a little bit. See, the SMS is a future-oriented system, and one of the biggest future dangers it's designed to protect us from is that powerful, painful emotion of regret. It's constantly trying to steer us away from choices that we might kick ourselves for later on. And just look at this distinction here. It really shows what makes regret so unique. Disappointment is simple, right? You just got a bad outcome. But regret is way more complex. It requires what psychologists call counterfactual thinking. You have to compare your reality to what might have been if you just chosen differently. And that is exactly the kind of what-if simulation the security system was built to run. And this isn't just some little quirk. It drives decisions at the absolute highest levels. This is a quote from Harry Markowitz, a Nobel Prize winner in economics, for crying out loud. And he admits that instead of making the most mathematically perfect investment, he made one designed specifically to minimize his potential future regret. His security system was literally overriding his rational, Nobel-winning brain. So every time you feel that little pull to make the safe choice, or to hedge your bets just so you don't feel foolish later, that's your security motivation system at work. It's running a simulation of a future you feeling that sting of regret, and it's using that feeling to guide what you do right here, right now. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This system is largely unconscious. It's constantly scanning for potential threats, both physical and emotional. So now that you can recognize its signature, that feeling of wariness, that urge to check, that deep desire to avoid future regret, just how many of your daily decisions do you think are really being made by this ancient invisible entity?